Hi everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I've made it out to one of those unique locations on the River Roach and it's fantastic. There's decay, an old wreck, and it's going to work out really well today. Timed it well, it's well after sunrise, about 6:30 in the morning, and we're just away from high tide, and that's the conditions that I really wanted. The sun's still relatively low in the sky, even though obviously it's bright and it's up, but it's creating lovely light, contrast and texture within the actual compositions that I'm looking to get today. So hopefully will work out to be a really good shoot. Just got to negotiate getting down the slippy side of the bank now, to hopefully get some good images today. Working on the first composition, making it down the side of the seawall here to look at this wreck. It's absolutely fantastic. The lovely sort of brown rusty colours that's obviously in this object is yeah, really nice. So I've obviously made it down the side of the slope, as I said, and I've got some of these rocks in the foreground leading up to the actual wreck of whatever it is. I really don't know. It looks like part of a boat. It could be something completely different. If you do know what it is, please let me know in the comments below. But I've got the camera set up in vertical orientation, and I've done a focus stacked image of f5.6 ISO 100, and I'll post up the shutter speed in the description below for the rocks, and then obviously re-exposed and focused onto the main subject as well, and looking to blend them two together in post-production. And then I've also done about a 4 or 5 image sweep of a panoramic image, yeah, working out really well. And what I wanted to get for this image is getting that down off the side of the path along here, is because you're then dropping the horizon line, and what you've then got is a very thin bank of on obviously the other side of the river here, and that's the horizon line, so it's very minimal, and that's what I really like. Now the only trouble that I've got in it is there's some other sailing boats in the background, and I might have to clone those ones out in post-production, but yeah, unfortunately can't really do much about that, but yeah, it's lovely. And the other thing that's really sort of coming across, and I probably won't be able to pick it up too much in the images, is the lovely, where the light's hitting the water, it's lovely rippled light on the actual side of the object as well. So I might actually zoom in and get a closer shot of that one, but yeah, it's really lovely. High tide is in about 10 minutes time, so yeah, hopefully the image will only get a little bit better. And there's a few other little objects around that will make some interesting foreground, and hopefully work out a couple of more compositions to capture as well. The next composition that I've walked a little bit further along the riverbank here. Still obviously got the main subject as this wreck, but got some more interesting foreground. Bit of the mud flats, but leading up and around to the actual main subject itself. So for this image, I've still kept the camera in vertical orientation. I've taken an image at f11 ISO 100 and about 1/100th of a second as the shutter speed, focusing on the main subject but using the smooth zone autofocus in the 77D, just so that will give me nice sharpness throughout the image and working out really quite well. Again, sort of keeping the horizon line there just in the upper third of the actual composition, because yes, there's some lovely detail there in the sky, but it's not really adding too much, and I don't necessarily want that to sort of really distract from the actual image. This is the main subject. This is what I want it all to be about: the light, the texture, the detail, the rust. That's what I really want to sort of be brought out in the actual image. I've then also kept the same sort of settings and done a sweep across as another panoramic image, working out really quite well, but making sure that I'm focusing more or taking more images over to this direction, because that's working out really quite nicely. I feel there's a little bit more detail there in the foreground, and hopefully that sort of weighting it and bringing it round to the actual image. So yes, okay, the main subject is going to be on the left hand side of that composition. However, I don't necessarily mind that too much, because I think there's some detail there, or the minimal detail, if I clone out some of the boats as well in the background, will work out really quite well. There's one more image that I want to capture now, so hopefully I can do that one, and fingers crossed that'll work out quite well, because it's a little bit of a long exposure, because there is a little bit of movement now as the breeze is sort of picked up a little bit in the actual water. So if I can smooth that out, and maybe also look at the light that I've got as well, and possibly look at turning that one into a black and white image, will hopefully work out really quite well. And I think for that one is I'm not going to focus too much or have too much of the foreground in the composition for that one, and just obviously zoom in a little bit with obviously the 10-stop filter on, to hopefully work out to be another interesting image. So that's working out really quite well with the long exposure compositions here. So I've got the camera set up on f11 ISO 100 and going between a 6-second and an 8-second exposure. I've got one at 18mm at about 6 and an 8-second exposure, and then zoomed in slightly to about 40mm give or take on the 18 to 135 lens, and again obviously taking a 6 and an 8-second exposure at f11, using obviously the filter cover or filter holder just to shield the lens slightly, so I'm obviously not getting any sun flare over the actual end of the lens, because that, yeah, as I said in a previous vlog, is really difficult to get rid of in post-production. And if you can think about it when you're out on the ground and just obviously got something there to obviously use to shield the lens slightly, works out really quite well. Yes, obviously if you've got a lens hood then that's fine. However, the problem that I found with a lens hood is sometimes when you're shooting at 18mm, then you can start to get that sort of vignetting around the outside of the actual composition, and when you're doing that you don't really necessarily want that. So yeah, if you've got the filter cover hand, as I used in my previous video, my other filter holder as well, obviously then you can shield the actual lens and work out really quite nicely. But yeah, fantastic morning, lovely still conditions, just that gentle breeze creating that lovely sort of rippled effect on the actual river, and having obviously the long exposures there as well, working out really quite nicely. It's these conditions, these locations that really inspire you when you find it. Works out really quite well. So I've also got to give credit to Terry Spires, who's given me the information for this location today, part of a Facebook group, local photography Facebook group, which is really nice to actually share local information and local knowledge about locations to come out and shoot. And if it wasn't for you, Terry, I wouldn't have actually been able to find this location and actually come out here this morning for this fantastic shoot. Yes, obviously I've seen that a lot of people have captured this image with lovely dramatic skies behind it. I haven't actually got that this morning. However, the still calm conditions, really nice. And yeah, it's just working with the conditions that you've got, that I've said many times before. But as I said, Terry, appreciate that tip for this location. Absolutely fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed myself today coming out to this location. It's yeah, it's got everything you really want, and really interesting and intriguing composition. The tide was right as well to create that sort of minimalistic image as well that I captured in the long exposures, and turning it black and white, which is my thought process at the moment, which obviously you probably would have already seen the image, so again that's hopefully going to work out all right. Yeah, it worked out really quite well. Getting the light at the right direction as well worked out really quite well. The sunrise was about sort of 4:30, 4:45 this morning. Way too early for me to get out of bed. But the other thing that really didn't make much of a difference is the tide wasn't there. If the tide was there, then maybe yes, this would work out a really interesting sunrise shoot. But yeah, I thought no, I'll stick in bed for about another hour or so and wait for the tide to be right at the right stage. And yeah, I think that's really paid off today. But again, what helped with that is the light was still at an angle that was obviously creating that detail and texture and wasn't too harsh on the actual main subject. So yeah, it's just that little bit of planning, a little bit of thinking about where the direction of the sun is, and there's many apps that you can obviously look at to obviously calculate that. And yeah, this one hopefully worked out really quite well. Thanks to everyone that's obviously watched today's vlog. Really do appreciate everyone that views my vlogs and obviously comments on my images as well, and obviously makes obviously a sub as well. So I really do appreciate everyone that's supporting me at the moment. And yeah, I'm really enjoying things at the moment, and coming out to locations like this only sort of boosts that motivation and that enjoyment of photography that we all have. But please leave us a comment, as I really do enjoy those comments. Please make sure you give it a thumbs up as well. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. But thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, take care.